Hello and welcome back to Shutterdrives. This is Zaurasan and we are here at Thailand to review one of the latest offerings from the Indian homegrown manufacturer, the TVS Apache RTR 310, a successor to the legacy, the blockbuster legacy of Apache series, selling millions of copies worldwide. What's good about it and what could be better? Let's check it out. Talking about the specifications, this is the reverse inclined engine. Now the biggest advantage of this over anything else is that you can have a longer swing arm without affecting the wheelbase of this particular bike. A longer swing arm also means that better stability, especially at high speeds, which is a good move. 35.6 bhp and 28.7 Nm of torque is what this bike makes from the 312cc engine right there. And the 0 to 60 kmph mark can be reached in just 2.81 seconds and the top speed is 150 km per hour. Now talking about the main design elements of the bike, first things first, you have the bi-LED headlamps, and the coolest part is they are actually adaptive. What I am trying to tell you here is, as you increase the speed of the bike, the illumination of these headlamp increases, and as you decrease the speed of the bike, the illumination decreases. Two things: firstly, it's going to be very helpful in offering you better light of the bike in front of you, and second is it's going to help not blind the oncoming traffic. You have the USD forks at the front. The front suspension can be adjusted for preload and compression, and the rear suspension can be adjusted for preload only. Another cool part is you get bi-directional quick shifter in this bike, which means that you do not have to use clutch every single time either you want to upshift the bike or downshift it. Now TVS being TVS has ensured that you get plethora of controls, especially from the functionality point of view. First things first, you have something called as GoPro mode, where you can control the GoPro directly by connecting your GoPro to this particular bike here, which is going to be interesting among enthusiasts. Secondly, you have something called as cruise control, which is going to be very interesting in a bike, and especially the cornering cruise control ability of it. Apart from the traditional ABS, you also get cornering ABS, which is going to help the bike stick to the ground, especially when you're cornering at tight tracks like the one behind us. You get two TPMS sensors in this bike, which is very interesting, which gives you the tire pressure on both the wheels. It's honestly very precise. You can see that it's 32 psi at the front and 31 at the rear, which wouldn't have been possible if there was no TPMS. Now the biggest talking point of this particular bike has to be this: ventilated seats, also known as climate control seats. Now what they do is they increase or decrease the temperature of these seats by 15 degrees in just 3 minutes. Overall, plus 30 or minus 30 can be varied, which is going to be kind of helpful in Indian conditions, especially northern India when it's very cold. You can actually heat this particular seat. Now you also get a dynamic stability control, which also prevents the bike from lifting off either the front wheel or the rear wheel when you activate that mode, which is also going to ensure that it's pretty stable. Now if that wasn't it all, you also have the user telemetry data, which means that based on the driving pattern, the way I'm braking, the way I'm accelerating, everything, I can also see what my riding score is, and you can compare the riding score of you versus somebody else. The Apache RTR 310 uses closed loop EFI system, unlike the open loop EFI system. Now what this does is it takes data from the oxygen and temperature sensor and then decides how much of fuel has to be injected into the cylinders. This does not just improve the overall fuel efficiency of this bike, but the bike performs better at higher altitude where there is scarcity of oxygen. You get something called as pedal disc in the RTR 310, which is again an interesting move because it helps in ventilation and better heat dissipation, which also means that there's an improvement in braking efficiency. The engine is not just liquid cooled, but there is also an oil cooler inside, which cools the temperature of the oil so that the lubricating properties of the oil is pretty nominal. Now the RTR 310 gets a trellis frame, unlike the double cradle frame. Now it has two different tubes, which also ensures that better structural rigidity is provided to the bike, and the bike is also stable at higher speeds. One of the most talked point of the RTR 310 has to be the exhaust, which we'll get into shorter. Both front and rear tire are 17-inch, and especially the rear tire looks slightly more gorgeous, especially with the red painted alloy wheel. Now the fuel tank capacity of the RTR 310 is 11 liters. Talking about the seat height of the bike is just 800 millimeters, which means that you can easily keep your foot flat on the floor. Talk about this sitting position, you feel that you're sitting pretty upright, and the handlebars are slightly compressed. They aren't very long as such. Talking about the ride modes, there are 5 different ride modes. There's urban, rain, sport, track and supermoto. And the TFT display gives couple of more information like the 0 to 60 km per hour time, the top speed that the bike clocked, and of course the TPMS sensor which is right embedded into it, apart from having a huge digital speedometer and tachometer. There's also a cruise control button on the left, and the bike is also equipped with a cornering cruise control. Talking about the seat comfort in general, I've been riding this bike since the last 3 to 4 hours, but I feel that the seats are slightly firm. Not sure about the pillion seat because that's something that I hadn't got a chance to sit on, but the pillion seat looks slightly more firmer than the front seat. Talking about the rear design, you have this slick rear LED tail lamps which look pretty nice, and then of course you have a grab handle for the pillion which looks pretty sturdy. Now the interesting bit about these indicators is, say for example you're going pretty fast and then you decide to panic brake for some XYZ reason and you end up panic braking very hard, both the indicators start to blink just as a hazard lamp, so that it warns users कि मतलब कुछ गड़बड़ है यहाँ पे, just slow down थोड़ा सा. And then you have the foot peg which is made up of aluminum and it looks pretty nice. Speaking of the vibrations, they could be felt at city speeds. They amplified quite a lot once we hit the highway. Vibrations start around 6000 rpm, and when you want to cruise around 80 to 100 kmph mark, they could be felt on the handlebar, tank and foot pegs. Overall, the engine is sporty in terms of performance. It's a proper raw monster that you would ever want, and it feels very good as a city bike. The fact that TVS decided to have first ride reviews on the track speaks volumes of the potential and the confidence the bike boasts of. The grip and stability offered by the Roadfire tires and the excellent chassis derived from the RR310 makes it an excellent handling package, and you wouldn't really complain for the traction that it offers. The suspension is set up on the softer side for better comfort on the streets. It's advisable to choose the adjustable suspension while ordering your motorcycle, because just the premium of 18,000 rupees is nothing when you want to compare the advantages of it. The Thailand circuit was perfect playground for the RTR 310. The RR310 derived chassis were capable of holding it properly on the line, and the heavy electronic suite also ensured that the bike and rider are prepared for everything that's coming their way. The RTR 310 comes with Rain Urban Sport Track and Supermoto mode, and the riding modes are there to make a world of difference practically. So that's about it from the first ride of the Apache RTR 310. Do let us know in the comment section what is your thought about this particular bike and if you're going to pick this over its rivals. Take care and ride safe.